Hello guys, I am back again with another experience video, and today I am going to be talking about Crescent Shrine. For this particular video I prepared 4 different rotations, and out of these only 3 of them are usable, and out of those 3 only 1 of them is actually worth doing. That's because I believe this place was not meant to be grinded for experience, but instead just for money, because this place is good if you want to grind for the Crescent ring, but in terms of experience, as you will see soon enough, it's not exactly that great. Now, before I get into the actual video, a few things to mention are that I'm only grinding on daytime and I'm not looting anything from the ground manually. I'm only letting my pets loot, and I myself am trying to kill the monsters as fast as possible in order to see the maximum potential of experience for each area. Also, if there are any other things to mention, they will be displayed on the screen, but these are the main facts. Basically, I'm killing the monsters as fast as possible, and I'm not looting anything from the ground manually. Now, to get this started with the first rotation, this one is by far the smallest out of all 4 of them. Back in the days when I was playing my Ranger and Ranger Awakening was still not out and I was only grinding with my bow, this is the rotation that I was actually doing. And there were enough mobs back then because I was killing way slower. But now on my wizard with Awakening and a lot more attack power, there are not enough mobs on this rotation. I only tested this one because I know there are still people out there who are grinding this rotation. But in terms of experience, it's by far the worst, and that's because mainly there are not enough mobs to kill them constantly. When you finish the rotation one time and you get back to the beginning, you have to wait for mobs to respawn. And as a result, this makes up for quite a bit of dead time between groups, so for most people this rotation is not going to be good enough. In terms of actual numbers, on this rotation I grinded exactly 15 minutes. That's mainly because I got bored of waiting for monsters to respawn, and since I did the rotation more than once, it was enough time to actually get the data I needed. So if I reduce the experience back to 100%, for this rotation it turns out to be 0.013% experience per minute. So it's by far the worst one out of all the spots I tested so far. I would say this rotation used to be good back in the day, but now if you're actually taking the time to go into the desert and you're most likely not going to come to Crescent to grind for experience, then this rotation is not going to be good enough for most people. Moving on to the second rotation, this one is basically an extended version of the first rotation. After I saw that the first rotation is way too small, I decided that maybe it could be extended and this way made to be somewhat useful. So I added another part of the map, as you can see from the screen, because I have no idea how to describe that, but I extended the first rotation and I tested this one again. One of the problems that I found on this rotation is that the area that I used to extend it is not exactly that well optimized, because to get from the first rotation to the area that I used to extend it, you have to go through the same set of monsters. Basically this makes for a dead time, because when you go in one direction the monsters are spawned, and when you come back on the same area the monsters are not spawned yet. So as you will see from the video when that time comes, when I am returning back to the first rotation I don't have the monsters respawned on the way, so there is a bit of dead time. And also I don't exactly like the position of the groups, because as a wizard I don't exactly run fast from one group to another, and the more space is between them, the slower I'm going to grind. To be honest, it's not really the fact that groups are not close to each other. It's more like the fact that half of the time there are not even groups. Monsters are just spread around the area. So it's not that easy to kill them fast, because if they are close to each other I can just use one AoE and they are all dead. But if they are just too spread I have to use 2 or 3 AoEs before they die, so I'm wasting more time. So to actually show you guys the numbers, on this rotation I grinded exactly 26 minutes, and in this time if I reduce the experience again back to 100%, I got 0.017, almost 18% experience per minute. So it's definitely an improvement comparing this to the first rotation, but comparing this rotation to other areas, it's again less experience. But considering the fact that the first rotation was not exactly doable, I would say this extended version is actually okay. If you are a Musa or some other fast class that can transition between groups pretty easily, then you might do better on this rotation. But as a wizard, this rotation is not exactly to my taste. And also that part with stairs is really annoying because you get stuck on those stairs pretty easily. You have to jump every time if you want to get past them, and while grinding this gets annoying really easily because if you're just walking straight ahead you're going to get stuck. Overall, this is a pretty good rotation if you're coming here just to grind for that Crescent ring, but in terms of experience it's not up to the other locations, so I wouldn't exactly suggest it. Moving on to the third rotation, this one is basically the second rotation but only the extended part. It only includes the area where I'm going around that huge pillar, so I'm just going in circles around that pillar and I'm not returning to the area where the first rotation is. On this rotation I could say that monsters are just enough so that they can respawn every time I get to the beginning of the rotation, because if I kill them as fast as possible, like I always do on these tests, then at the beginning of the rotation only 1 or 2 groups are spawned, and sometimes the first group is not exactly fully respawned. So if you can grind faster than me, then you're going to have to extend this rotation as well. On this rotation, I don't think I have anything bad to say besides the fact that since you're going around that pillar a lot of times, actually more often than on the second rotation, then you're going to have to deal with those annoying stairs even more. So besides that, nothing else seems to be bad. In terms of experience, on this rotation I grinded exactly 20 minutes, and in this time I got 0.018% experience per minute if it is reduced back to 100%. I can already say that I got more experience than on the second rotation, and most likely the reason why is because if you compare this rotation to the second one, then here seems to be a better mob density, because of course I don't have to return to the first rotation. Overall it is pretty good, and this rotation is also one of those that I used to do back in the days when I was on my ranger without my awakening, and that was actually back when Valencia was first released on its first 1 or 2 months. So back then this rotation used to be also very good, and I suppose it is still a good rotation even with the new awakening and higher attack power. And now for the last rotation, I don't know if this one is actually called the main rotation, but that's how I'm going to call it, because this is a spot that you see when you are walking into the canyon for the first time, and it seems to be the spot that is mostly known by other players. Also, as you're going to see soon enough, it has the best mob density and also the best experience on the whole area. I also had to extend this rotation with 2 more groups because, again, if I was to kill them as fast as I possibly could, I didn't have exactly enough groups to have them respawn in time when I was back to the beginning of the rotation. For normal players who are coming here, they don't exactly have to extend it because, as I said before, this area is not exactly meant to be grinded for experience. In my opinion, Crescent Shrine was actually meant to grind for that Crescent ring and not for pure experience. Still, if you actually manage to find this spot free, then this is the best spot you can find at Crescent Shrine. And the problem is that this spot is always populated because anyone who's coming to Crescent Shrine is going to search for this spot first. And if this one is taken, then they are going to move to other spots, but if this one is free, then you can expect it to be taken if you are going to come here after them. In terms of actual experience, I grinded on this spot for exactly 23 minutes because I got overweight and I had to leave, and in this time, if I reduce the experience back to 100%, I got 0.021% experience. So the experience on this spot is actually good enough to be comparable to other areas like bandits or cages, while still having that chance to get a 35 million ring. So I would say it is a pretty good rotation, but then again, the trash loot is not exactly that great, and the crystal that can drop here is pretty cheap. So overall, if you don't get a ring, then you're not going to make that much money anyway. So I suppose that's about it. I only found 4 rotations, or more likely 3 rotations, that are actually doable, and in conclusion I would say that this area was only meant to be grinded for money. If you're going to come here to grind, just keep in mind that you're here for that Crescent ring and not exactly for experience, because there is only one spot that actually gives you a decent experience ratio. If you actually want a competitive experience ratio like 0.023 or 24, then you're better off going at bandits or pirates, or even cadres. All of those areas are going to give you more experience. So if you're looking to level as fast as possible, then Crescent Shrine is not the place for that. To end the video, on the screen will be displayed on the left side the experience per minute for each of these spots, and on the right side of the screen there will be displayed the experience per hour for each of these spots. So if you want, you can compare those to my previous wizard videos if you want to see how this area compares to other areas, because I tested all of them on my wizard with the same attack power and same level. So yeah, I guess I'm done talking, so thanks for watching the video. I hope you found it maybe somewhat helpful, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, if you have any questions, just leave them on the comment section below.